Chung for that very embarrassing introduction. Dear honored guests of the Mount Jade Association, Mr. Doug Hooker and his wife, Director General Dai, and most of all, the exceptional Youth Achievement Award winners this year. Thank you for inviting me as a speaker. It is an incredible honor to be back in my hometown of Atlanta and to have an opportunity to speak with the outstanding youth in our community. The talent show thus far has been absolutely impressive. I don't even know how to begin folding a fish. And I look forward to seeing even more talent later this evening. You know, it was about 20 years ago that I stood in the same position as the award winners this evening. Back then, even though the selection process was very rigorous, I was not nearly as accomplished or nearly as talented as the students who stand before us this evening. When I think about it, I really wouldn't stand a chance with them. And I think this speaks to not only the growth of the Mount Jade Association over the last 2 decades, but also the maturity and achievements of the award winners today. So congratulations to all the Mount Jade Youth Award winners and their families this evening. I think it's a truly great accomplishment. So as Dr. Chung alluded to earlier, earlier this week, I cheated a little bit, and I reached out to some of the young award winners by email, and I asked them what they feared the most. I wanted to understand what their mindset and what their concerns are, so that I might be able to give them something that could be helpful. And to be honest, their responses kind of surprised me. They included things like, I fear growing up, or I'm afraid I won't find that thing that I'm really passionate about in life. And why did these answers surprise me? Well, for one, when I was their age, I was concerned with much sillier things like, do my friends like me? Is my car cool enough? Can I extend my curfew? And second, I think this question on finding something that you're really passionate about in life is a lifelong pursuit, something that has no clear-cut answers for anyone. So, knowing that there is no magic formula for these questions, I scratched my head for a very long time about what sort of advice I might be able to offer. And I came up with a couple of ideas that I wish I had learned when I was your age, 20 some odd years ago. At the time, I was probably told something similar, but back then I didn't really pay attention to what old people told me. So I hope that you young award winners can give me a chance and take these thoughts from me as a semi-old person, someone with a few more wrinkles and a few more gray hairs than you, but not someone too old to be considered a nagging uncle. So, my advice to you can be organized into 2 main ideas. The first of which is a simple mathematical equation. That is, success equals hard work plus opportunity. Success equals hard work plus opportunity. A lot of times, we might read about someone very young, very successful, let's say like Mark Zuckerberg, or even the younger but also billionaire founders of Snapchat. I know you all use Snapchat. And think to ourselves, wow, these people are incredibly lucky. They're young, they literally have the world at their fingertips, and they have resources and an influence very early on in their lives. But make no mistake, people don't just fall into situations like that. The one thing that is consistent from one success story to another is a key ingredient called hard work. You just can't get where you want to go without it. My first job out of college, I was working in Hong Kong. The job title sounded really fancy. I was an investment banking analyst. But the big secret was that I worked on some pretty ordinary day-to-day tasks. For example, I was often asked to buy coffee, make copies, spend late nights in the office making more copies, and then waking up early the next morning to buy coffee again. So many times I thought to myself, is this what I actually studied economics in college to eventually do? Is this the thing that I'm passionate about? It was tremendously painful, and I was very tired. But I did everything I could to make sure I was the best at what I did. I took what was in the realm of my control, my tasks, and I put my best effort into getting them done. Whenever I felt tired or on the verge of giving up, I looked around me, I saw the 1.3 billion people in China, I remembered the 1.2 billion people in India, and the other billion people in Africa, and I told myself, if I don't work hard to get what I want, someone else in this world will. And that's something that's tricky about hard work. You know, it's usually the people who work the hardest who don't seem to work at all. These people, like Mark Zuckerberg, who seem to have gotten really lucky, or like Warren Buffett, who seem to just be unusually talented. But in reality, they work very hard. And you just don't hear about that hard work because it's more exciting to tell a story that's sensational and magical. So please, 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 I beg you, put in the hard hours of work to get where you want. And don't try to cut corners getting there. If you want a flawless GPA, go to the library. If you want to make varsity swimming next year, go training. There's absolutely no substitute for hard work. Now, as an aside, one important part of hard work is finding the right people to coach you. It can never hurt to have a couple mentors to guide you through life. They can be a professor, they can be a music teacher, a coach, a parent's friend. As long as there's someone you trust, someone you respect, someone you can see as a role model for yourself. And be proactive about reaching out to them. Find something that you and that person might have in common, and see if they'd be interested in grabbing coffee or lunch. A lot of times these old people seem intimidating and unapproachable, but in reality they crave energy from young people like you. Yes, you know what I'm talking about, all you old people out there. They like the opportunity to absorb fresh energy and ideas, and would be more than happy to take time out of their busy schedules to offer you advice. So while you're working hard, see if you can find a couple mentors to coach you along the way. And be thick-skinned about approaching them. Send cold emails to people who you think are interesting. Approach people who you think may not even know that you exist. The worst thing that can happen is no. And the best thing, you have an extra set of eyes and ears you can go to for advice the next time you have a difficult decision. Okay, now going back to that simple mathematical equation. Success equals hard work plus opportunity. I'd like to share with you my understanding of how opportunity fits into that equation. In my mind, the world is a very chaotic place where most things are out of our control. The weather, the traffic, the stock market, which is kind of my job, and how good your competition is. Even some characteristics about yourself are out of your control. How tall you are, the color of your skin, what country you're born in. This chaos is what one might call fate or opportunity. And it is only through a lucky encounter with opportunity that hard work can lead to success. Okay, so I'll give you a more concrete example to make the idea clear. In 1997, when most of your award winners were born, or just recently born, I was applying to college. And I'd say that I was maybe an above average candidate. I was never at the top of my class, but I was in the top 10. I'd never received any serious conservatory training for cello, but I played in the Atlanta Symphony Youth Orchestra, and I won some music awards here and there. And that fall, I was admitted to Harvard. As you can imagine, my parents and I were super excited because we felt that all the hard work that we had put into my high school career had paid off. In a way, I felt I had gotten what I deserved. That summer, I packed my bags, went from Atlanta up to Boston, and started my life as a college student. And during my first year there, I joined the orchestra and became very good friends with the conductor, Dr. Yanatos. We call him Dr. Y because Yanatos is just too many syllables. And one day Dr. Y said, well gosh, we really need some stronger bassoonists in the orchestra because we haven't had a good bassoonist in a very long time. I think I should give the admissions office a call since my call last year about getting more cellists seemed to have worked. And it took me a couple seconds to process this, but it dawned on me very quickly that although I had worked really hard during my high school years to get my college application as strong as possible, there was this phone call, completely unbeknownst to me, about needing more cellists that helped me get that admission letter. So in reality, it wasn't just my hard work that got me into Harvard, but also this stroke of luck from the conductor, really needing strong cellists in the orchestra. Would I have gotten in without this phone call? I actually don't want to know the answer to that. So from then on, I learned that no matter how hard I work, without that extra stroke of unknown, of chaos, of opportunity, I can't guarantee success. While hard work is a necessary step for success, it is by no means the only ingredient. And you will no doubt experience this too, but many times in my life, I've put in a ton of hard work with no success because I haven't met the opportunity yet, and I have no idea when or if it'll ever come. But at those difficult moments, I tell myself, keep your head down, keep working hard, keep breathing. When the opportunity comes, you will be ready. You have to be patient and forgiving with opportunity because ultimately, it is not in your control. So that's the first concept, this mathematical equation. So moving on to the second concept that I'd like to share with you this evening. It's not a mathematical equation, but instead it's a simple biological function. It's something that we're all doing right now, the act of breathing. What I love about breathing is that it not only keeps me alive, but in a larger sense, it keeps me balanced. I take a breath of oxygen in, I give a breath of carbon dioxide out. The oxygen is good for me, the carbon dioxide is good for our environment. I can't do both at once, but I also can't do one without doing the other. And it's a physical give and take with the world around me. What I also like about the concept of breathing, taking something in and giving something back, is that it is a wonderful metaphor for how to interact with the world around us. On the one hand, we're here to soak the world in, to see what's around us, to experience the unfamiliar. And on the other hand, we're here to give back, to contribute something to the people and communities around us. Let's first talk about what the world can give us. For most of us, it's knowledge and experience. Human curiosity is a powerful thing, and it's what drives us to explore the unknown, to sail into uncharted territory, or to fly to the moon. We all want to know what we don't know. And I strongly hope that each of you Youth Award winners tonight continues to pursue your curiosity to the fullest. I know that you've done a great job already, which is why you're here, but never let go of that curiosity. Travel the world, go on the road, explore corners of the earth that no one has ventured to before. And you'll be a better person for having seen more. If you have a hankering to start a business, go do it. If you have an idea for a gap year between high school and college and your parents say no, take that gap year and use it wisely. Because that is the side of the breathing bargain where you take something in. And don't let go of that opportunity because it can be a lifelong pursuit of learning. But in exchange for all this, don't forget to exhale and give back to the world because that is the only way you will live a balanced life. I understand that the Youth Award winners this evening have all made a significant contribution through service. And I'm certain that the communities you serve are grateful for your goodwill. I hope that this spirit of contributing something, whether it's time or talent, is a spirit that you carry with you for a lifetime. For it is only when you give something away that you really understand what it means to you. I have a good friend in Beijing, Pat, who is a role model for me with respect to this concept of opening your mind while giving back to the world. He's a 6-foot-tall former swimmer. He has 2 Stanford degrees, and he has his own investment fund. He's one of the most well-read, intelligent people I know, and he also happens to be one of the humblest people I know. One motto that he lives by is, it's more important to want what you have than to have what you want. Whenever Pat and I meet for lunch, I have to cut his food into very small pieces before he can feed himself. And he can't go from one side of the room to the other without my help. And why is that? Because Pat is paralyzed from the neck down. When he was 13, Pat suffered a terrible swimming accident. He broke his neck and lost the ability to function like you and me. But even though he can't walk anymore, Pat has never stopped breathing. He went on, as I mentioned, to get 2 advanced degrees, and now has his own investment company. But he didn't stop there. Because Pat wanted to learn how to drive, like most of us know how to do, he helped design a car that he can now control with his fingertips. So in 2010, when I was visiting San Francisco, Pat was also there. He picked me up from my hotel in his car, which we call the Pat-mobile, and drove me over the Bay Bridge, on the highway, all around town. He used his left fingertips to control the direction of the car, and his right fingertips to control the speed. And I was totally floored. I mean, here's someone who I have to push in his wheelchair from one side of the room to the other, driving a car very fast, with no help whatsoever. To the rest of the drivers on the road, Pat was no different from anyone else. His tenacity for pursuing the unthinkable is inspiring, and he continues to expect to gain a lot from life, even though you can imagine how he could have easily lost all hope. But at the same time, Pat gives back in a way that is equally as powerful. After the accident, Pat's parents spent a lot more money rehabilitating him, taking care of him than they had expected. So during his high school years, his parents raised a foundation, a pool of donated money, to help fund Pat's education in the future. But when Pat got into Stanford as a senior in high school, he told his parents he didn't want that money. He thought that with his degree, he would eventually be able to pay for his tuition and that he'd never really go hungry. Instead, Pat thought that that money should go to others in need. So instead of funding his own education, Pat dedicated those funds to supporting the schooling of children in China. To this day, that foundation has supported education for countless students, and Pat's generosity lives on through this foundation even 20 years later. It is this type of hunger and generosity that I admire in Pat, and it is my goal to make this give and take with the world just as easy as the actual act of breathing is for all of us, something I do without even thinking about it. Because when I can pursue knowledge and give back to the world just as easily as I breathe, I will have achieved a truly balanced and meaningful life. Similarly, I challenge each of you to be as hungry and as generous with life as Pat has been. So, for those of you Youth Award winners, I'm not sure if I've given you the solution to answering your greatest fears. But in case you want a cheat sheet for the tools I've discussed here this evening, here it is. If you're scared about growing up, rest assured that you'll never stop growing. I promise you that even the really old people in this room, the really old people, they're still growing up. They feel like they're still growing up. And as for finding a job that you're really passionate about, aim high, work very hard, and leave the rest to opportunity. In the meantime, just breathe in and breathe out, and you'll be fine just the way you are. Thank you, and best of luck to you all.
I am motivated and inspired, and I hope you are all too. Before I give my appreciation, Dr. Song will present a certificate of appreciation.
think all the youth and the old people, we all learn something from Eric. Okay? On behalf of GA, I would like to give our appreciation, our certificate. One more thing important. I know it's very difficult to get an apple in China.
Safe pineapples.
So we present an apple made by your mom. Well, I have a straight comment. Whose parent? Of his.
Get more on the stage.
Don't stand up, okay? No, Moa and Jaliwa. The second thing is, we just saw that Eric is so energetic. Do you know he just landed in Atlanta 4:30 this afternoon from Peking? And he's going to leave Atlanta tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock.
Well, this is daytime with my mind right now.
One more thing. He's talked a lot of giving. He's one, his parent, and he doesn't want me to mention it, but I just cannot help it. He is one of the diamond sponsors of this year. You even cannot find his name on the yearbook. Let's give Eric a big hand and the Wong family. Okay, when we have the second part of talent